Hi, I'm Catherine Wygant-Fossett, aka Cat, the Executive Director of the Institute for Family-Owned Business, otherwise known as IFOB. We've partnered with Machias Savings Bank, who's been telling stories of Maine for over 150 years, to bring you insights into what it's like to run a family-owned business in Maine and the service providers who support them. Join me on this episode of Chit Chat with Cat. Welcome to Chit Chat with Cat. This is episode 1 of our new storytelling series, and I'm so thrilled to have Francine Cram, Senior Vice President of Business Banking of Machias Savings Bank, as our first guest. Beyond being a fantastic IFOB community supporter, it's no surprise she's had success both personally and professionally, as her mantra is always family first. The sole reason why her 3 children and 8 grandchildren gather at her lake house and her colleagues gather at her desk. Her family and community-oriented approach has helped develop personal relationships in her 35 years of banking and business development. She's a trusted advisor, resource, and business partner with demonstrated expert performance in establishing and cultivating relationships with business customers, employees, and centers of influence throughout the Portland and Southern Maine region. Her ability to be an active listener with a high level of ethics and integrity makes her a favorite among her family and staff. Welcome, Francine.
Welcome. Well, that was such a nice introduction. I don't think I need to say anything else.
Yes, you're fabulous. So, Francine, tell us a bit more about who you are and your role at Machias Savings Bank.
Sure. So, I always like to say, going back to the family first, when people ask, tell me about who you are. First and foremost, I'm a wife. I've been married to my high school sweetheart now for almost 42 years. We have 3 grown children, as you talked about, who are amazing people and have married amazing people. And I have 8 grandchildren and another one on the way. Actually.
Wow, congratulations.
So first and foremost, I'm Nana, and I am hopefully my children's person. And then I am a commercial lender. We call it business banking here at Machias Savings, but it's what I do. I lend money to business customers across the state. And I've been doing that now for about, I've been in banking for over 35 years now. I've got to update that, but I've been a commercial lender for, I would say it's about 22 years that I've been doing this, and have just absolutely loved it.
Yeah, well, you're great at it. So
thanks.
Tell us about how you started and how you took a little time away from banking to care for your family.
Oh, yes. So, I don't think anybody that knew me growing up would have ever thought that I would choose banking. I sort of fell into it. I was actually, growing up, I had this real strong sense of I really wanted to make a difference in the world. I was going to do something great. And I actually was going away to college. Was going to be a child psychologist, a research psychologist, hoping to make the world, better for children growing up. Typical story back then, I fell in love and got married at 19. So didn't go to college like I planned, and just sort of took a job that I could find, and it was in banking. And, I've stayed in banking ever since, and played all different roles. I did take a time out for about 5 years when my first son was born, and stayed home with my kids for about 5 years, and then went back to banking because, again, that's what I knew. And I did everything from being a teller to a mortgage originator to a branch manager, and sort of switched roles every couple of years. Stayed with pretty much the same banks. I've only worked with 3 banks in my career. But just seem to get bored a little bit easily once I've sort of mastered that task, until I found commercial lending.
Yeah.
And then I just fell in love with banking and with commercial lending. And I finally felt like I was making a difference.
Yeah.
Finally sort of felt like I was, maybe hadn't taken the path that I had originally thought I would, but that every day I could make a difference by helping people realize their dream, or helping them to expand, or maybe helping them, navigate a difficult situation, whatever it was, and really form very long-lasting relationships. Some of my customers I've had for 25 years.
Wow.
And I've seen them, go through many progressions within their business, seen their families grow up, and just really become close friends with them. And hopefully they've seen me as, somebody that they can, count on. I know they call me before they do anything, really. So that's really been the progression of my career.
So what's interesting is you and I didn't realize this, we're both kind of on a similar track. I went to college and I was a psych major, and I always wanted to get married and have kids, but that came along later in life. So I to the travel industry and did a lot with that. And that part about feeling and caring about businesses and people and building relationships, that's a lot what we do here at the Institute. And I wanted to know what makes you wake up and want to go to work every day.
I think besides loving what it is that I do, I work for an amazing company who I've worked for Machias now going on 5 years. And I guess I would preface that by saying I've always worked for great people and great institutions. But Machias, just was always a little bit different in how they did things. And mostly because we are, like we keep talking about, a family first bank. And it's not just lip service. So they really, really, really do emphasize that you take care of yourself, that you take care of your family, no questions asked. You've got something to do with your family, you go do it. And on the same respect, they are just really sort of down home boat, really common sense lending. Yep. A lot of the senior managers here have run their own businesses. They love the state of Maine. They love supporting the business community. They really support the businesses and their families, and really go out of their way to make that connection. And dare I use it too much, but make our customers part of the Machias family, and that we really take the time to listen, to check in on them. I've worked for a lot of banks that say that,
right?
But this is the first bank that I really feel it's really, truly, genuinely the case.
Right. And that's why you guys have been such great supporters of the Institute and a really nice partner with us, because family business is challenging, and running a business anyway is, and then you put the family element into it, and a lot of family business are very private, and we get them into the same room, and then they're like, then suddenly they start chatting, and they're like, oh yeah, I have that, I have this, I have that. So and there's a lot of different challenges and things, whether it's banking or succession or other things that is really important to them. And that's what you guys build a community. We try to build a community around the Institute, and having people feel that they're not alone, and that I think the biggest thing about what's nice about the Institute is that people have been there, and they can help each other, and they want to help each other. And we just did a big research project to figure about what's so important about the Institute. And we had 25 different people from Digital Research Inc. who interviewed. We went from the dabblers to the ones who are very committed ambassadors to us. And what they said is that we don't have to have the answer to all the questions, but we've got to have the resources and the people and the opportunity for people to be able to talk and share that. And that's what you guys help do and provide. And, it sounds like, you might just, you're a bank, but you also provide other support and resources and steer people where they need to go to get help.
Absolutely. And your institution is fabulous. And I have to say that I didn't know a lot about it before I came to Machias. And Machias is such a supporter and introduced me to you and to everything that you do. And the nice thing is having, the majority of businesses in the state of Maine are family owned,
right. 80%.
Or at least they started that way, right?
Right.
And and I work with them and we talk about all of the various challenges that they have. Their business is their baby too. And so as they age or as their kids get older and maybe enter the business, there's all these types of things that they go through, the whole succession planning, as you talked about. We talk a lot about that with our customers. And it's one thing to put it down on paper, and it's another thing to actually start giving up the reins or listening to what the younger folks are saying, or really about giving up control. And that's what a lot of them want. They want their children to take over, but it's difficult.
Right. Well, their whole identity is wrapped up in their business and what they do into it. So it's sometimes hard to let those reins go. And programs on succession planning, because we know how important it is. So 96% of businesses think that they should have an exit plan, but only maybe 13 or 15% have a written plan. So when we do a program, we're like, okay, everybody raise your hand. It was a written plan, and not a lot of hands go up because it's hard. It's hard conversation.
That's right.
Things. And there's this statistic that people, banter about, whether it's completely true or not, but there's a 30, 13, and 3% chance that a family business will pass from the first generation to the fourth. So it's really important for all of us in this business community, in this community that we're doing, is to help support them, along the way, so that they can continue the business.
Absolutely. And all of those things that you're talking about with them, we also talk with them about it in some aspects. And a lot of it is part of their full business plan that as a banker, we want to know about.
Right.
So it is really, really great when we can refer them to you and to your programs. And that same message is sort of, being told, but more than that, they can meet with other business owners, family-owned businesses, and finally talk about those things, because they don't talk about, gee, little Johnny someday is going to run my business. What if he doesn't want to, or what if I don't like what he says? But when they get into groups and go, to classroom training with all of you and all of the other family businesses, they open up.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's because we have different affinity groups. So we help CEOs, we help women in family business, we help the next generation. And I sign a confidentiality. So my lips are sealed. I hear all the different generations, and I hear all the different people and what they talk about and what's going on. And sometimes, the older generation thinks the younger generation knows what they're thinking, and vice versa. And they don't,
And they don't.
And so it's like, come on, guys, let's get you all in the same room and let's have a conversation. And let's see what we can do, because and it's also a lot of pressure for the younger generation, because they don't want to be the one who messes up the fifth or sixth.
Do they tell you, your parent, that maybe they need to change something that they're doing that's worked? And I really love that the Institute also doesn't just focus on the business owners, that there's room and there's classes and there's events for the younger generation, or those that might be coming up through the business, or other people within the business. So I do think by including all, ages and titles, you create conversation within the business.
And we brought back our family, we created our family fun festival. We used to have Summerfest. So I'm like, here we have all these programs, over 50 different programs for family businesses, but we didn't have any kids to come. So now we're having kids again. So we have a bouncy house, we have all kinds of things.
That's great. Yep.
So the younger generation can learn about their parents with other parents and families that say, oh, they're not the odd ones out. There are other family businesses and children and events and things that happen. So if you were going to give a family business one piece of advice, what would it be?
I think the biggest piece of advice I always give them is to start thinking about a succession plan early.
Yeah.
It's not just about when you retire. Succession happens all along the way. You don't just magically bring in somebody at the last minute. And also, by doing so, you plan for, the unfortunate event that you pass away untimely or have some sort of an incident or have something you have to deal with and to be away from the business. So that is first and foremost what we talk about. I mean, they have a great idea, they've got a great business running, all that kind of stuff. So how do you insulate that? How do you protect that?
And what I like to tell them too is take time to work on your business, not just in it. Because a lot of times people are so busy running their business. Oh, I don't know if I can come to this program or I can be a part of it. But if they pull themselves out, then it gives them a little bit of a different look or a perspective. Or we always try to make each program that we have a little tidbit that's a takeaway. So we want them to have fun, but we want them to learn something and say, take that time. Like, because succession always gets pushed off. They're like, well,
exactly.
So, and if it's a difficult conversation, you don't want to talk about it. So, and a good succession plan will be 10 or 15 years in the making.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And we're gonna right. And we're gonna have a program later this year about that, an unexpected thing, a sudden death. What do you do with that? If someone gets hit by a bus, what's the plan? You got to have that emergency, but also it's better if you can plan it and put it through.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to hear you say that because, I am just constantly asking those questions.
Yeah. What do we need here in Maine to help support our family business community?
Well, I mean, I do think your institution, number one, first.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Is really important. I think community banks also are important. Yep. Those that are committed to the state of Maine and understand how many family businesses are here. How many generations they've been and how they're here to stay.
Right.
And how to best support them. And you can only support them when you also understand and support the state.
Right.
Because I think it's just, family is so important everywhere, but family is so integral to everything we do in the state of Maine.
Right.
So I think that's unique. So any programs that support them, I think a good, solid attorney that understands working with businesses and can help them, mentor that, the same things that we're talking about in succession planning, a good, solid accountant. Yes. I mean, I just think that all of having a good, solid team that understands what you're looking to do, not only in the type of business that you're running, but how you want to continue to foster it and keep it within the family is really an important team to have on your side.
And that's what we have at the Institute. We have our family businesses from small to the very largest. And then we have what we call our associate partners, so the bankers, the lawyers, the accountants. And then we have sole proprietors that are coaches and people who help with family businesses. So I like to think we have a good housekeeping seal of approval that these are all good people here to help the family businesses. And you're certainly one of them and very supportive, and we appreciate it.
And I don't know anything about if there are other institutes like yourself in other states?
There are. Yep. There's
Okay.
about 75 different ones around the country. And actually we were kind of launched from the University of New Hampshire one almost 30 years ago. There were 20
Wow.
businesses. There was Shep Lee from Lee Automalls. He and a bunch of family businesses were driving to New Hampshire, and he being Shep, I don't know if you knew him, but I did. And he was like, well, why don't we have this in Maine? So he and his daughter, Kathy Lee, started it at USM almost 30 years ago. And then we became, we were associated with them. And then in 2008, we became a nonprofit, our own 501c3, and have been growing and working all along. So,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I just don't know of a better institute, and this isn't just because we're doing this chit chat. It's really truly how I feel.
I didn't think to say that.
It really is truly how I feel. I mean,
Thank you.
that this is number one, the organization that family businesses need to be a part of. If, just, even if they think they know it all, the networking itself and really just being able to talk to family businesses are so important. The other thing that I would tell family businesses, and I've seen this work, and it really is quite wonderful. It's another reason why I love my job. But I'll work with a business customer for a long time, and I see their kids grow, and I see them bringing their kids in to the businesses at a young age, and it's really great when they can expose them to as many things as young as possible. Once they start working there, maybe that's in their teens, even
Right.
to the banker, to the lawyer, to the accountant, to the institute. It just helps give them a good feel of the network that's out there, the kinds of relationships that they need to build. Even if they don't end up in the business, it's great education. And I think it makes them understand the bigger picture of the business rather than just, this is what mom and dad are telling me to do.
Right. It opens their minds to other business, other opportunities.
And I've seen it work really, really well.
Okay, so we have a quick lightning round. A few questions to close out our chit chat with Kat. So they're no longer than 10 seconds each. A quick fire round.
Okay.
What saying are you known for?
Family first.
There we go. Family. Share one interesting fact or experience that would never show up on your formal bio that shaped your success.
Really great mentors along the way.
Okay, awesome. And what books, podcasts, periodicals, or I threw in streaming shows that you're reading or listening to and learning from now?
Jodi Picoult, my favorite author, likes to deal with really controversial issues, but I read lots of different things. And I'd have to say that I'm like everybody else right now. I'm a 1923 and a Yellowstone fan.
I know, and they keep it like olden days where they you can't strip it. You have to stop. I'm like, oh.
It's true. It's true.
And it's all about a family business, many generations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Family values, a little warped they might be, but
yeah, it's a little interesting. But anyway, well, I want to thank you so much, Francine, for being involved with us and doing the first episode and sponsoring this, because we really want a chance for people to get to know the Institute and who we are in an informal way and chit chat with Kat. So thank you so much.
Well, we thank you really, truly for all you do. Your energy, your enthusiasm is infectious. It really is. And you make a difference in so many people's businesses every day. So we appreciate you.
Thank you. All right. Well, you have a great rest of your day. And thank you so much.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Chit Chat with Kat. The IFOB is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the success of family-owned businesses in the state of Maine. And we couldn't do what we do without the generous support of our sponsor, Machias Savings Bank. For more information, visit us online at fambusiness.org.